That's how y'all going that's what you're gonna do to me. You're gonna leave my emotions on hold for that cliffhanger. Whew, we got so much to break down. What's going on to all my Severance fans out there? Elliot back again, here from Movie Files, recapping, breaking down, spoiling everything that we got in this season 1 finale, episode 9 of Severance, which was titled The We Are, an episode in which our innies finally meet the Audis lifestyle. I'm talking Mark meeting his sister and learning about Gemma. I'm talking about Helly, aka Helena, and I'm talking about Dylan and finding out about he got some extra kids and everything in between. I'm so excited to be here with you all. You all ready? You got your utensils, you got your mask, do you have your waffles? Because we're about to break this thing down. Before we do, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel and love early movie reviews, TV breakdowns, and live streams, well, come and join the community by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. As you can see on the screen now, if you enjoyed this spoiler review, well, make sure to give it a thumbs up and also share it, but more importantly, in the comments, let's talk about this finale in its entirety, from your favorite moment, your maybe least favorite moment. Maybe some moments that you were like, man, I wish we would have got this, that, and the third, and we didn't get as many answered questions, but it sets up for season 2. But again, let's talk about all the stuff that you did enjoy, maybe didn't enjoy, your thoughts, theories, predictions for season 2, and everything in between in the comments below. So before we get into the spoiler discussion, if you all got a chance to watch my final theory prediction video that I put out a couple days ago, which by the way, I got a couple of them right. Some of them I didn't, but neither here nor there. I had made an announcement that I want to do a waffle watch party live tonight at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, but unfortunately, my Audi forgot that he made it a commitment to be at a press screening, serving as press for a very awesome movie that I'm excited to talk about in the coming days. But I can't do the waffle watch party tonight at 7:30 p.m., but we will still be going live at around, it's a 2-hour movie, so around 10 to 15. If you all are up, of course, I invite you all to come join a live, open spoiler discussion about this finale, about the series, about our characters that we love, favorite episodes, and everything in between. So again, no waffle party, but an open discussion, spoiler live at around 10 to 15. I'm gonna leave the description, all the information in the description, and also I'm gonna put this out there. If you all want to join the live, like literally have a discussion, have like 4 or 5 people on a panel discussing this episode, I'll leave the link in the stream so you all can join. So hey, let's have a good time tonight, 10 to 15 Central Time, talking about this finale and everything in between. So let's get into my thoughts here about this finale. First impressions. Did I love it? Did I hate it? Did I just like it? Was it just okay? I love this finale. I love the finale. I know there's going to be people out there, and I was kind of like, I wish we would have maybe learned about the governor and Gabby and all this stuff there. But of course, there's a season 2 to explore those plots and the global nature of Lumen and what exactly they do. You know, we got to set up those seasons. But what we actually got in this finale was what I love about the show. It's the characters and learning more about Helena, Irving, more with Mark and Gemma and stuff with Dylan. I just loved the build-up, the tension, the suspense. I was on the edge of my seat this entire finale, and I was biting my nails. My stomach was turning. I was just all the emotions, which is just a great sign of just being invested in the show and invested in these characters. And overall, I was beyond satisfied with this episode. But again, that's just my first impressions. I'm going to rewatch it several times and find more Easter eggs. We might do more videos about thoughts and theories, but I really enjoyed the finale. I loved it, if I'm being honest with you all. It wasn't my favorite episode, but I thought it was a great conclusion for this great season. But hey, that's just my impressions. Let me know yours in the comments, as we're going to spoil this whole thing up and down. As we, first and foremost, as far as first impressions, I did get a little nervous when I saw the 40-minute runtime, because I'm like, yo, we've gotten episodes that were almost an hour long. But again, within those 40 minutes, it was just thrilling for 40 minutes straight, for me personally. But getting into the breakdown, we see the glitching of the titles, and we get the innies waking up in their Audis bodies, which was just like, okay, here we are. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Spending a little bit of time talking about the performances, because I don't know if I really talked about how much I love the performance, especially from Adam Scott. When you see him make that switch from the outer Mark that we know, and how he's, I don't want to say a recluse, but we know that he's grieving still with Gemma's death, and he's just not as, lively as he is when he's in the office. And just seeing that switch there when he's at the party, and you can see the Mark that we know, the, any Mark, and seeing how he's just like, the posture changes, his cadence of his voice changes, and it just to me just speaks to just more of a philosophical conversation about the innies and the Audis. I'm starting to think that the people that we see in the office might be more of the person who they really are in the outside. Obviously, we know we haven't met the happy Mark because of Gemma's death. We don't know much about Irving and his sexual preferences. Maybe he wants to be with some, man, but we'll talk about him being in, serving and stuff like that. Maybe he's not able to be who he really wants to be. Maybe Dylan isn't a happy dad, and we'll talk about Helly or Helena a little bit later. So I think it speaks so much to when we see their innies, this is who they really want to be. This is who Mark really is, a happy-going type of person. But neither here nor there, as I digress, we see, and again, I just want to applaud the performance of everyone in the show, but in particularly Adam Scott. Seeing that switch is just fantastic to see. He doesn't know where he is. Who are you? You're my sister. Wait, Harmony, why are you here? Where exactly am I? As he's starting to put the pieces to the puzzle together in regards to, where I'm at, who I'm with, and where we are here, which we'll talk about here in a second. But going back to the opening here, we cut to Irving. Him waking up, seeing the painting, looking at his apartment, seeing that he has a dog by the name of Radar, and just really kind of taking everything in. And the character that I have been theorizing since I've joined this awesome party of Severance episode breakdowns, I had theorized when I was watching those episodes for the first 7, when I binged episodes 1 through 7, I'm like, she has to be important. When I go back to thinking of episode 2, how her and Milchick was having the conversation about what she's doing and just how, they responded to Helly and her trying to take her own life, it was just so much importance to that character. And she is no doubt important. As we get our first kind of really big WTF moment of the episode, we find from Natalie that she's going to be speaking to the board in about 20 minutes as we transition to another big moment as she's introduced to Gabby, the senator's wife, which we'll talk about that interaction. Oh, Gabby, I would like to introduce you to Helena Egan. Yes, that's right. She is an Egan. She's a daughter of an Egan, and we'll talk about who her father and grandfather is. And she was the one that started this all along, which is, I can't wait to talk about that. And I thought it was so ironic that we see her going down the elevator as we, when we first met her in the elevator, and the significance of that. I thought that was perfect to kind of intro into a beautiful opening for a fantastic finale. Getting back to the conversation, the way I want to handle the rest of this breakdown, I'm going to just focus on the individual characters, starting with Dylan. We'll transition over to Mark. We'll talk about, obviously, what we got with Irving, and then we'll finish up with Helena, and then we'll tie it all together in my final thoughts. So let's start off with Dylan, who we see the picture that the gift that he got last week, as he says, I hope you 8-holes are figuring up out there. And we cut to him. I thought it was kind of unfortunate that it was sucked that he had to hold the switches. I thought that was kind of weird that he had to do that. I would have thought that they just would have switched the switch on and just hold it there, which makes me think, who was the person that held the switch when Milchick went to go check in on Dylan? Correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the head security, Grainer, wasn't he dead by then? So who was it that had to switch? And then we've only seen one security guard in Grainer and Milchick. So who was the other 2 people holding the switch when Dylan was waking up and found out about his child? I'm just really kind of curious about that whole thing, and maybe he just wasn't he couldn't put 2 and 2 together that you can maybe just hold this, the switch just holds itself. I don't know, but I'm just nitpicking at this point. I just thought it sucked that he had to hold that position for in real time for 40 minutes. That was pretty uncomfortable, but neither here nor there. And just kind of wrapping up with Dylan, we'll talk about him a little bit later, but Milchick gets the call from Harmony about what's going on. He runs in, breaks into the security office, and we'll tie back to Dylan a little bit later. But let's check in with our boy, going back to Mark at this reading party. Where am I is the big question, right? As he runs into his sister, who he thinks for a second, oh, are you my wife? Is that my child? She's like, very funny. I do know it takes a village to raise a child, which I thought was just very funny. But again, getting back to the conversation, he's trying to figure out where he is as he's just, again, confused about the situation at hand. We see him constantly want to talk to his sister and have a quieter moment and have a private moment to talk about everything that he wants to reveal and get off his chest. But unfortunately, he's, they're having their discommunication because it's at Rickon's book party and she has to take care of the baby. So we're just seeing him kind of have that moment, which he'll get into in a second. But Mark is in awe right now. He is a fanboy as he realizes that, oh my goodness, the writer of my personal Bible, my favorite novel of all time by Rickon, he's my brother-in-law. And he is just, like I said, he's soaking it all in, so excited that he is there as we see Rickon start to read the book. And he says, who are we? Which brings us to, which I'm not going to lie, I found it a little bit weird that Mark's first reaction wasn't to just like immediately converse with Harmony. Like, why are you here? Why are you have this accent? Why are you dressed this way or what have you? I assumed that he just thought that she was a part of the Severance program, so it really didn't dawn on him till a little bit later in the moment here. But let me know if you all were just kind of curious, like he didn't just immediately start questioning Harmony. But getting back into it, Mark and Rickon have a discussion outside as we see him talking about like, listen, Rickon, your book changed my life. And Rickon's like, come on, Mark, I know you're not being serious, but are you? And he's, they're having a little back and forth, and we see Rickon apologizes to Mark about how he treated him when he first joined the Severance program and worked for Lumen, and he kind of understands why he did that with the death of Gemma. And this is where my stomach started to turn a little bit, because he's like, I was looking through older pictures, and he was going to show him the picture, but unfortunately he has to go back to the book reading. So I'm like, oh, you slick son of a guns, you're getting me there. I thought that was going to be the moment when he finds out about Gemma, which he does a little bit later. But going back into it all, we see Harmony seems more interested in Mark at this point, as she's wondering, why are you so tense, Mark? What's going on? Mark's like, oh, I'm good. I'm just at, parties. I get a little nervous around parties, but let me go check in with my sister right now. I'm on sister alert, Mrs. Colville. And that's where he slips up, and that's where Harmony realizes, oh, there's a ruse. There is something going on here, as she tries to warn Milchick. We see her rush into Lumen and trying to attempt to call him. She inevitably gets a hold of him as she's making her way back to the office. And we'll get to those scenes here in a little bit. But going back to the conversation between Mark and his sister, he tells her everything. He tells her about the whole thing. And she, I love when a movie or a show, it doesn't take when you're trying to reveal something to a character and the character's like, oh, you're just being silly. Oh, you're just, I don't, like, I love that they're that close, and I love the relationship this entire season, that she trusted him and she believed him when he told her all the stuff at hand here. Her and Gemma and Rickon were so close, and this is the moment where she talks about how, when she died, you couldn't go back to work and this, that, and the other, and this is where she comes up with the idea, hey, I suggest you maybe go to the media, because if Lumen is as powerful and as influential as you say they are, they probably have the police in their pocket. And that's a really good idea, to get the media involved. And I think that that's something that we can expect for a season 2. But going back into the conversation, Mark tells her about Harmony and that she works for Lumen. And that's where we see Devin's like, wait, she works for Lumen? She realizes she has my baby, which we'll get into what happens to that baby a little bit later. But let's transition into Irving, which we got a lot of interesting stuff going on with this character. We see that he used to serve. And this is when I'm starting to realize, okay, what's his reason? Why did he join Lumen? Why is he an employee, I should say? And I'm starting to think, okay, he used to serve. Maybe they hire people that have past traumas. We know what happened with Mark. We now assume that, him working and being in service, that he suffers from, trauma, anxiety, PTSD. So maybe that's a good program for people that suffer from those moments to kind of let their mind off of what they've experienced while they served. And joining this company, which we'll talk about my theories on that a little bit later, he discovers a trunk with a picture of his dad who served in the Navy. And this is where he finds some other interesting documents, one of which is a news article regarding a Severance worker who's suing the company after an injury. And if you all can look on the screen now in regards to the details, the employee's name was Dalton, who was suing Lumen based on a hand injury, very similar to what happened to Mark. They put a letter on his windshield saying, oh, you hurt yourself at work. And if you read again, I'm going to put it on the screen again, you can see that a doctor said that it seems to be caused by brute force, implying that maybe that Dalton individual was trying to escape, was trying to leave. And this just makes me think, okay, the connections of Dalton and why does he have this article? I'm going to talk about that. Put a pin in that. We're going to talk about that in the video. But Irving now has another document, which is very interesting. As you can see on the screen now, it's severed employees list with notes about where they live, their ages, their parents' anniversaries, when they got divorced. And my thing is, why does he have this? We all know Irving has worked for the company for more than 9 years. Again, watch my theory video. I predicted that maybe that whole protocol, his mind was erased, or they did the branch transfer. So I wonder, did he know Dalton? If Dalton was a friend of his, very similar to Petey, and obviously what happened with Mark. Did he serve in the military or Navy with him? Very curious on that list. But like I said in that theory video as well, I bet you that Irving's, once he kind of realizes some things, first person he's going to want to see is Burke as he sees his address. It makes his way to having this reunion that unfortunately didn't pay out the way he wanted to. But also going back into the question at hand in regards to his paintings, what does Irving know? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. But let's get back to Harmony passing Irving on her way to Lumen. But the big character that we have to discuss here is Helly, aka Helena. She meets the senator and they discuss their 3 children, and it makes me think she's talking about who would want to get rid of Severance. Am I right? What exactly are they using the Severance for? Are they using it to just, like, as we know, they want everyone in the world to have it? Can it be used as a device to help you neglect pain or forget about giving birth and forgetting about the pain that you endured during birth? Like, what's the tie-in with the senator and his wife? I guess that's something we'll explore in season 2. What do you all think about that whole storyline that we really didn't get many answers for? But getting back to Helena, we also learned that she has a big speech ahead and she wants to thank her father. And that's what I'm thinking, again, going back to my theory, her father, Egan. We find out about James and Egan being her father. She starts to go around the gala and she sees this giant displays displaying her story, which I'm like, oh, that makes more sense why Milchick was throughout the season taking all those photos for this very event, for this very night. As we see a video of her talking in the background about her Audi, talking about her father, being the Lumen employees are like family, that she thought that the hundreds of thousands of employees were like brothers and sisters, implying that this is not just a small town business. This is a global industry, that there are different Lumen companies around the world, which is something that just blows my mind and just makes me even more excited about the future of the show. But getting back into it, she used to have to read the 9 core principles before she went to bed every night, and that she took the job because it's freaking awesome. And Severance brings everyone together, which again, we're under the impression that Severance is a bad company, but what if it's not too bad? What if they're helping people that suffer from PTSD, that suffer from grief, that suffer from memory loss, or suffer from pain and things of that nature? Again, we know that Cure, it's funny, his name is Cure. He has this God complex. He wants to cure the world. Let me know your thoughts on all that. As she rushes to the bathroom, overwhelmed, and here is where my theory comes true. In comes the CEO, aka her father, Jane Egan, as they're having a conversation, as he is talking about how he cried the night that he heard about what her innie did to her, and he can't wait for the day that for her to sit next to him where he's revolving, I think was the word he used, which is, a circle. I don't know what that implies. Like, his reign is coming to an end, so she's going to be the next one to be the next CEO. Let me know your thoughts on that conversation. He talks about one of the prototypes that he showed her as a kid, and that she thought that everyone in the world should have one, and that's where the dad says, that's the key, that's the thing. You were the one that got me with this idea. It was because of her. And we see her repeating the lines that she had to say in the break room over again. So, Helly, you are the one. I love that idea because, like I mentioned in my reviews a couple weeks ago, I love the idea that the conflict of the character, if she was like I know some people theorize she's a reporter, she's an investigator. To me, it just wasn't as dynamic as what we got here. The fact that her Audi is so devoted, she's literally a family member of Egan and she loves this company. It just goes hand in hand with her maybe going back to my philosophical conversation. She might not be as gun-ho and loving as this company as she implies on the outside, but in the inside, she hates the company. She doesn't like the idea of what they're doing, which again goes to my back and forth conversation. Are they doing good? Are they doing evil deeds? Like, at what expense do you have to cure the world? So I love that dynamic that we got with Helly, aka Helena. Let me know your thoughts on the dynamics. Let's wrap up the review and the discussion here for the final moments. The baby is safe. We see that the baby is left at home, and we see Mark. He sees the picture of him and Gemma, which just broke my heart when he gets that reveal. And we'll go back to Mark here in a second, but getting back into it, Milchick finally picks up the phone about Harmony, telling him that everything is going on. He runs to the security office. He brings his knife out. He inevitably before he gets in there, he tries to get Dylan on his side. Like, hey, there's things you don't know. Like, we have paintball, we have a coffee cozy. Like, come on, Dylan, work with me here. He ultimately doesn't. He breaks in, and we see that he tackles him, which leads us to our final moments. But before we get there, Harmony, like I mentioned, has arrived to Lumen. We see that meanwhile, Irving finds Burke's place, and we see that Burke seems to be in a happy, loving relationship, which just kind of broke my heart with Irving. I don't know who that other gentleman was. I don't know if we've seen him in previous episodes, but I'm just like, oh, that's so sad. As we see Irving go up to the door, start banging on the door, and this is where the tension and the build-up was fantastic. Time for Helena's speech as she wants to tear this company down and she wants to tell everyone about what's going on. This is where Harmony stops her on the stage and says, you need to stop what you're doing. We will ruin your friends. We will leave them in pain. So the question is, decisions. Will she speak her truth? Well, as we'll see here, she does begin to tell the truth to the crowd, but everyone thinks she's joking. And this is where we cut the cut here. I was just in awe. We cut between her telling the truth, Irving banging on Bert's door, Milchick getting into the room, ultimately taking down Dylan. We see Mark is screaming to his sister, she's alive. And unfortunately, with Milchick taking down Dylan, the switch is off. End of the show. So we got some questions here. And by the way, like I said, I enjoyed the entire episode, but that last 5-minute window when we're cutting between all this stuff, I'm like, I was hyperventilating because all the craziness that was going on. But let's talk about some things that I have in my notes here. And I might make a longer video. We're going to probably be talking about tonight on the live stream. Let's talk about Mark for a second. Will his sister take his advice? And after learning about, everything that she had in the conversation, interactions with Gabby, the interactions she knows about the senator, will she go ahead and reveal all this stuff to the media? And the big question is, will they believe her? And then more importantly, what do we do with information about she's alive? She's obviously, I think she's going to know what he means by she's alive, that she's referring to Gemma, which brings me to, we didn't get the answer with Gemma. What exactly is a testing floor? Has Irving worked on a testing floor? What is it that they're doing to her? How is it that she's alive? How were they able to bring her body back? Is it a clone? Is it a robot? What are we dealing with here? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Let me know your thoughts on all that, which brings me to Irving. What exactly was he doing with that list? Which, remember, he's been there for 9 years. He's worked for this particular department for 3 years. What is it about his memory seeping over to his Audi? And is he a resistance member? Is he in there because, again, did he know that individual that's suing the company way back when? I tried to zoom in and see if there was a date on there, which I couldn't, but was he friends with that Dalton guy in another department? And it was a very similar what happened with Mark, what happened with Petey. Dalton came to him about, I don't know what they're doing to us, like, look what happened to my hand, and he felt bad for Dalton. Or maybe Dalton and Irvin they served in the Marines or the Navy together, and he feels so close to him that he wants to help his friend out and bring this company down for hurting him, because we don't know if Dalton's still alive, if they hushed him, if they gave him hush money, or if they killed him. We don't know. We know what happened with Petey, so maybe that happened to him, and that's what enabled Irving to work for them for the past 9 years to ultimately bring them down. I might be way off in that theory prediction, but let me know your thoughts on all that. And again, going back to that conversation, is it a company that helps people that suffer from PTSD, help people that suffer from grief? Let's talk about that. But going back into Dylan, he found out he has not 1, but 3 kids. And again, my whole theory about who they are inside, maybe he's not I don't want to say a good dad, but maybe he doesn't like the fact that he's a dad. He maybe hasn't embraced his fatherhood, and he wants to spend 8 hours at work instead of for being a dad. Or, of course, he has to, he wants to support his family. I don't know if he's married or not, but again, he has 3 kids. Is he a happy dad? Does he love his family? Does he not? Let me know your thoughts there. And, of course, Helly, the daughter of the current CEO and the granddaughter of Cure himself. But they have the chip. She was the reason why they want everyone to have it. Does she really want everyone to have it, or is she just, showing face? She has to say that because it's in her blood. Let me know your thoughts on that. Again, I might make a separate video diving deeper into that discussion, those things I posed to you all. Again, we don't know what's the surgeons up to that, helped out Petey. We don't know more about, all the people that don't like Severance and all that stuff there. So there's a lot to explore in season 2, and there's a lot more discussions to be had. But hopefully we can have a great discussion tonight. Again, 10:15 p.m. Central Time. We'll have an open live discussion, spoiler discussion about this finale, about the show, and everything in between. So I'll leave that in the description. I know I was late to the party, but thank you all for supporting these videos, liking them, sharing them, commenting. Again, do all the same in the comments below. Leave your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hope you all can join us tonight. Hope you enjoyed this review. I love this show, and I appreciate you all going on this journey with me, exploring the show, and I can't wait for season 2. But thanks again for watching the video. As you can see on the screen now, subscribe to the channel. Join tonight. Check out my other content. We'll see you on the next video.
Yeah.